No respect, no romance, and a husband who might not come home from work. Welcome to life as a gladiator's wife in ancient Rome, where marriage vows should have included, "Till arena do us part." The year is 73 BCE. While the wealthy Roman citizens cheer from the comfort of the Colosseum stands, Flavia Ennius stands at her tiny apartment window, wondering if today will be the day her husband Hector gets turned into a human kebab. Most Roman wives worry about their husbands having affairs with slave girls or drinking too much wine at business meetings. Flavia worries about her husband getting disemboweled by a Thracian warrior for the entertainment of the masses. Let's get one thing straight. Being married to a gladiator wasn't like marrying a modern-day celebrity athlete. Today, athletic wives enjoy wealth, fame, and reality TV shows. Gladiator wives? They enjoyed anxiety, poverty, and the occasional severed ear brought home as a souvenir from a particularly successful match. "Honey, I'm home," Hector announces, limping through the door of their one-room insula apartment. "Oh, wonderful," Flavia says, eyeing the fresh gash across his shoulder. "I see you brought your work home with you again. You should see the other guy." Hector grins, then winces as he sits down. "Actually, you can't. He's dead." That's the first reason being a gladiator's wife was absolute torture. The constant state of worry. While other Roman wives fretted about whether their husbands would approve of the garum sauce at dinner, gladiators' wives worried whether they'd need to start planning a funeral before dessert. Most gladiators were slaves or condemned criminals, meaning their marriages weren't even legally recognized by Roman law. Those lucky few free men who chose the profession for glory might have legal marriages, but that's small comfort when your husband has a life expectancy shorter than the average house cat. The historian Juvenal wrote that women found gladiators irresistibly attractive, creating a strange social dynamic where these men were simultaneously celebrated as sex symbols and reviled as the lowest social class. Imagine your husband being the Roman equivalent of a rock star, except instead of groupies throwing undergarments, the crowds threw thumbs-down signals demanding his death. "Did you at least get paid today?" Flavia asks, applying a homemade poultice to Hector's wound. "Better. The crowd loved me so much, they threw these." He proudly displays a handful of nuts and fruit rinds from spectators who had enjoyed his performance. "Wonderful," Flavia sighs. "I'll make nut and garbage soup for dinner." Again. Which brings us to reason number 2, the financial insecurity. While the rare superstar gladiator might earn prize money and gifts, most barely earned enough to survive. Their wives couldn't count on a steady income or on having a breadwinner for very long. According to archaeological evidence from gladiator graveyards, most died between the ages of 20 and 30. Talk about an early retirement plan. "Oh, and the Lanista says I'll be fighting in the morning games next week," Hector mentions casually, as if discussing a work meeting rather than a potential death match. Morning games. Flavia stops bandaging. "But those are for the inexperienced fighters. The crowds barely pay attention." "Yes, but if I survive, I might get promoted to the afternoon slot," he explains excitedly. The social status of a gladiator's wife was nearly as bad as the financial situation. Romans were obsessed with social hierarchy, and gladiators ranked just barely above prostitutes on the social ladder. Being married to one meant living in the worst neighborhoods, being excluded from respectable society, and enduring whispers and sneers from proper Roman matrons. At the local market, Flavia hands over their last coins for stale bread and slightly rancid olive oil. "Aren't you Hector's wife, the Retiarius?" asks the merchant's wife with a mixture of disgust and fascination. "Yes," Flavia answers cautiously. "I saw him fight last month. My husband took me for our anniversary." The woman says, then lowers her voice to a scandalized whisper. "Is it true what they say about gladiator stamina in the bedroom?" And there's reason number 3. The awkward social position of being married to someone considered both fascinating and repulsive. Historical records show that many Roman women were indeed attracted to gladiators, creating a strange dynamic where these fighters were both sex symbols and social outcasts. Their wives had to navigate a world where everyone either looked down on them or inappropriately inquired about their sex lives. "The Lanista wants me to train with the bestiarii tomorrow," Hector announces over their meager dinner. The beast fighters? But you're a net and trident man. You fight other men, not lions. It's just practice. Besides, the cat is only half-grown. He says through a mouthful of bread. Oh, well, that's comforting. Only half a lion might eat you, Flavia retorts. Training schedules were brutal. Historical records from gladiator schools show that fighters trained 7 days a week under harsh conditions. For wives, this meant rarely seeing their husbands except when they returned home injured and exhausted. Romance wasn't exactly flourishing when your husband spent more time with his training partners than with you. The ludus or gladiator school dominated their lives. Gladiators lived under strict regimens, following specific diets, mostly barley and beans for strength, according to archaeological analysis of gladiator remains, and had every aspect of their lives controlled by their lanista, the gladiator trainer and manager. The new gladiatrix arrived at the ludus today, Hector mentions while Flavia mends his torn tunic. Flavia's hand freezes mid-stitch. A female fighter? Yes, from Britannia. Quite skilled with dual knives. And I suppose she's young and pretty too? Flavia asks with forced casualness. I didn't notice, Hector lies poorly. And that brings us to reason number 4, the gladiatrices. While much rarer than their male counterparts, female gladiators did exist in ancient Rome, as confirmed by relief carvings and historical accounts. For a gladiator's wife, these women represented yet another threat. Not only were these female fighters in peak physical condition, but they also shared the intense training experience with their husbands that wives could never understand. The emperor might attend next week's games, Hector says excitedly. This could be my chance for fame and patronage. Or your chance to die in front of a larger audience, Flavia mutters. The imperial attention was a double-edged sword, much like the gladius Hector trained with daily. While imperial favor could bring rewards and potentially even freedom for slave gladiators, it also meant higher profile, more dangerous matches against better opponents. Epidemics were another constant worry. Historical records show that gladiators often suffered from diseases that spread quickly in their crowded living quarters. The worst part? Ancient Roman medicine was about as effective as throwing a bucket of water on a house fire. Physicians might recommend drinking wine mixed with pulverized mice to treat a wound infection. Surprisingly, that didn't work particularly well. My shoulder wound feels hot, Hector says one evening, his face flushed. Flavia examines it with growing dread. It's infected. I'll get the physician. We can't afford the good one. Just get the cheap guy. The one who prescribed donkey urine last time? Flavia asks incredulously. That's the one, Hector nods weakly. Even if a gladiator survived the arena, life expectancy wasn't great. Studies of gladiator skeletons show evidence of numerous healed wounds and chronic health issues. Many who didn't die in the arena still died young from accumulated injuries, infections, or the harsh physical toll of their profession. For those rare fighters who survived long enough to retire, life after the arena wasn't exactly filled with parades and pensions. Some became trainers, but most ended up destitute, their bodies too battered for manual labor and their social status too low for respectable work. Good news! Hector bursts into their apartment one day. I won my 40th match. The lanista says after 50 victories, I might earn the wooden sword. The wooden sword, or rudis, was the symbol of a gladiator's retirement and freedom. For a gladiator's wife, it represented the distant hope that someday their husband might stop, risking his life for the entertainment of bloodthirsty crowds. That's wonderful, Flavia says, allowing herself a moment of optimism. What will we do when you retire? I've been thinking about becoming a gladiator trainer, Hector says thoughtfully. Flavia's face falls. So instead of dying in the arena, you'll just spend your days teaching others how to die in the arena? Exactly. Much safer. And therein lies the final cruel irony of a gladiator wife's existence. Even the best outcome, survival, didn't guarantee escape from the brutal world of the arena. The skills that kept gladiators alive didn't transfer well to other professions, and society wasn't exactly welcoming to retired killers. Historians note that some successful gladiators did achieve fame and even modest wealth, but these were the exceptions, not the rule. For most gladiators' wives, life remained precarious even after retirement. "I have a surprise for you," Hector says one day, his hands hidden behind his back. "Is it money? Please tell me it's money," Flavia says hopefully. "Even better." He produces a small wooden carving. "I made this from a piece of the training equipment. It's a gladiator. See? He's holding a net, like me." Flavia takes the crude carving, oddly touched by the gesture. "It's lovely. I thought you could keep it with you during matches. For luck." Perhaps the one bright spot in a gladiator marriage was the intensity of their connection. Knowing each day might be their last together created a strange kind of intimacy most Roman couples never experienced. Historical accounts suggest that despite the hardships, many gladiator marriages were characterized by deep emotional bonds. "The big match is tomorrow," Hector says that night, lying beside Flavia on their thin mattress. "The one against the champion from Capua." Flavia says nothing, just holds him tighter. "If I win, the prize money could change everything for us," he whispers. "We could move to a better apartment, maybe even leave Rome altogether." "And if you lose?" she finally asks. Hector kisses her forehead. "Then you'll need to find a husband with a safer profession, like lion taming or volcano exploration." So there you have it. While other Roman wives worried about planning dinner parties and managing household slaves, gladiators' wives worried about whether today would be the day they became widows. They endured poverty, social ostracism, constant anxiety, and the special indignity of watching crowds cheer as their beloved husbands were stabbed for entertainment. The final irony? Archaeological evidence suggests many gladiator marriages were surprisingly devoted despite these challenges. Perhaps there's nothing like the constant threat of violent death to make you appreciate your spouse, which is probably why modern marriage counselors don't recommend "fight a lion together" as a relationship-building exercise. As the Roman philosopher Seneca might have observed if he'd had a sense of humor, marriage is difficult enough without your husband's profession literally being man who might die for applause today. Though to be fair, some modern wives might argue that hasn't changed as much as we'd like to think.